What is going on, guys? Welcome back to a new YouTube video. And in today's video I once again packaged the entire week of training. So it is basically the training from this Wednesday and yesterday's squat session. On Wednesday I now switched up my training a bit so that I have my heavy deadlifts in the middle of the week and my heavy squats on a Saturday. This will be a little bit better going forward to also, for example, peak, because for deadlifts or for your lower back to recover from a very heavy session before a competition, you usually need longer, like 10 days, 14 days maybe is a pretty good time to recover your lower back. Whereas for squats, you would need a little bit less. I mean, it depends or it varies from lifter to lifter, but I would say on average, this is probably the case for most powerlifters. Yeah, 1 week after I was at the doctor's place and he basically told me that my knee is pretty messed up. I also had my MRI on Thursday, but I didn't revisit the doctor so that he can actually also look at the MRI pictures to give his final diagnosis. Regardless of that, my knee didn't feel good at all. However, during deadlifts, I guess we got them done. The 225 top set, I believe, was very, very good. And I don't know if you could see it, but basically what I did for my deadlift was to move in my feet a bit. So now my shin during my setup is just aligned with the ring and not outside or in the middle of the ring or the ring markers. It is very, very different, but also feels very familiar because this is the way I used to lift. And it felt actually pretty damn good up until after the top set when I just wanted to randomly go and get a tiny plate to load on my deadlift. And boom, I had a cracking sensation in my knee and it almost felt like literally bone was rubbing on bone. It was so painful. I was just randomly having to sit in the freaking shoulder press machine for 2 minutes because I was so in pain. It's a bit annoying. Not gonna lie, this whole knee thing is getting on my nerves. I mean, I am pretty experienced in how to handle my knee, but as of right now, it is pretty fragile and very unstable, which makes just like normal things a bit annoying. Anyways, after the deadlifts, we moved on to dips, and you also already saw me doing my, I guess, top set on dips. Just moved back to dips just to have another exercise for my chest, for my pushing power, and I have to say I really miss them. Dips are an exercise that really are fun. It's just a fun exercise that you can do, and weighted dips always nice to push yourself, and it's a very little doesn't take too much of a toll on my body, and so the exercise in itself is fine for me. Then we moving on to the next day, which was yesterday's training of squats. As I said before, Saturdays is my squat day, and you might have already noticed it, but I skipped on using sleeves, and instead, to have more compression on my knees, I started using reps. Told you guys, I believe in the last video, maybe in the last two videos, that I basically called the prep now for the next raw meet I was planning on doing in the beginning of November. This was a bit sad, but on the other hand, a new opportunity also opened up. I will compete in Germany there's a first division in powerlifting in January, and there I will be competing in single ply. And single ply, if you guys don't know, there's a difference between raw powerlifting and single ply powerlifting. There's also multiply powerlifting, but there's even a step further. But basically, you have raw, you're allowed to wear knee sleeves, you're allowed to wear your lifting belt, and you're allowed to wear your wrist straps, as well as a basic and very light singlet. The singlets, I believe, are made out of some artificial fabric, It's very light. It's basic. It's a bit stretchy, but there's no support at all. Whereas in equipped powerlifting, you're able to wear a squat suit, a suit that is made out of polyester, which is very, very hard fabric, which also gives you a lot of support, especially in your hip area, and you're allowed to rep your knees with knee reps. I believe the maximum length varies from federation to federation, but in IPF, in the drug tested federation, it's 2 meters. And you're also able to wear a bench shirt, which is a shirt that helps you for bench. It's not as crazy as the bench shirts that some of the multiply people are using, but it's definitely gonna help you a lot. And also, same for deadlift, you're allowed to wear a special suit there too. Why am I doing this? Because I know from experience and for a fact that due to the compression I'm able to generate with the knee reps, I can keep my leg a little bit tighter and a little bit safer. And here I also showed you how I would rep my knees. Basically, I'm always starting at the bottom and then moving up in, usually 4 turnovers to move up, and then go down with 1 or maybe 2 crosses if I manage to get it really tight. And this gives me way more stability. And I wanted to also experiment with my shoes because formerly I always used to have heel elevated shoes. So my Reeboks with the heel elevated, it's I believe a 21 millimeter elevation, so pretty high. Instead of having to squat with my flats, which I did all off season long, and the rest of the prep. Yeah, it felt okay. Didn't feel too amazing. It just was snugger than can you say that? I hope so. Than my flats on my feet, but the squat itself didn't feel amazing or anything. And actually, I also just did my top set with 210 here in heels, and then switched back to using flats for the rest of the back offs. And what I really tried doing was not change up too much on my stance, on my previous stance, but rather, here you can actually see that I also had a little bit of a hiccup during my back offs. Just forgot the clip, sorry. Always put the friggin' clip on your bars, guys, because I already noticed how like all the plates were moving to one direction, and I really do not want to have one side falling down and the other side then like quickly jumping back. That's not nice during squats. But what I was about to say was basically that I tried not to switch up my stance too much. I stayed in a rather shoulder width wide stance with the toes slightly tilted outside. And I tried just doing my normal squat techniques. And it was definitely a little bit of a change because the reps feel so foreign. And I was just not used to having so much compression at the top and so little force production out of the hole. Yes, it's literally like I was a bit surprised yesterday, but I feel like I have less support out of the hole with knee reps, at least as tight as I wrapped them yesterday, than my A7 stiff knee sleeves. I mean, the SBD sleeves, the old ones, are a different story. They're not as stiff, not as supportive. But the newer ones, the newer stiff sleeves, they really are giving a lot of support out of the hole. And I didn't experience the same support with these reps, which is pretty funny because, I mean, at the end of the day, equipped is always the part of the sport of powerlifting where more and harder and more supportive equipment will be used. And it's actually pretty funny to me that, like, at least from my experience, the stiff sleeves gave more support out of the hole. I'm not saying they are as compressive as the reps are, because this you can literally steer yourself, because I mean I can rep myself harder or lighter depending on how I feel. But what I'm saying is that out of the whole, the push was greater with the stiff knee sleeves, at least with my A7s. Don't know, probably the same with the Titans and the inserts as well. Then after squats, I already, smart enough, smart brain, put in board presses. So why did I do this? As I said, I will be competing equipped. In equipped, the bench shirt gives you most drive from the bottom, but the top part you mostly have to work yourself. Meaning, what I'm trying to do now is on Saturdays, I'll try and push a top set of board presses to mimic or to get to a certain level of power, of pressing power, of lockout power that will be so crucial once we start getting into a shirt. So I can tell you that it won't be anytime soon, but for the next 5 to 6 weeks, I will be working on building up the lockout power. After board presses, we jumped into RDLs. I had paused deadlifts in the plan originally, but I decided in the training, I don't know if another sumo session will do my knee any good. So I decided to go for RDLs to have a more narrow stance, right? And I expected, or I hoped, to have less pressure that way on my knee. And this worked fine for the first 2 sets. I just did a top set with 170 and back off sets with 150. To be exact, I did 2 back off sets with 150 and 1 top set with 170. So not at all much of a load. I believe in the off season I got up to 200 for 7s or 8s on RDLs. So it should be relatively lightweight, but on the second set, my knee really hurt, and it felt like, once again, this bone on bone crunching feeling that was not nice. So I called it there, and then we moved on to working a little bit on the quad. So I decided to put in some specific quad accessories to really put focus on the quad, and instead of like leaving my quad alone, trying to train it in a way that is not very heavy for my knee, but gives me a lot of results in terms of muscle growth. Because honestly, if I would be just a normal person that would go on their day-to-day life and not train the specific sport, or like train so heavy and be used to these many loads, I think I would honestly like die of pain with my knee, because the muscle support is all that keeps the knee together at the moment. And the Bulgarians, I put in Bulgarian split quads, the most hated exercise by powerlifters around the world. Not sure if this is actually the case, but I'm pretty sure if you would ask people, they would probably, maybe not agree, but they would know of this exercise. But basically, I did 12 reps, so a lot of reps, and with only and the sole focus on working my quad, and it was extremely beneficial, because I was actually very excited that I particularly was able to hit the vastus medialis, which is the muscle or the quad muscle that is attaching right above your patella and is responsible for also tracking, or like guaranteeing a proper tracking on your patella. So there I already got a nice pump. I just did 2 sets of these Bulgarians each leg. Felt amazing, was really nice, and can recommend if you're searching for a quad exercise where you don't have to use a lot of weight. And because of the fact of weight, I put the leg extensions after that, because now my quads were already burned out and I didn't have to use so much weight on the leg extension machine. I don't know if you guys have the same problem, but usually on the leg extension machine, I can put in a lot of weight, and then I rather go in pre-exhausted and not use too much weight and just do my pumping and repping sets. So here, it was a very nice finisher to the entire workout. I did 2 sets of at least 20 reps, I believe, and I really tried giving it my all, tried burning my quads completely and getting a nice crushing pump for the end of the workout, which, by the way, also was quite a bit of took quite a bit of time. I think we were in the gym for at least 3 hours. But I'm excited to see how my knee will behave and how my strength will behave going forward. With that being said, guys, really appreciate you guys watching. I wish you guys all the love, all the power. Have a good one.